Okay, in the last video we did the floor or the foundation for the Sanderson sister house, and today we're going to start working on the walls. So like in the last video, or the first video I did, I was using my He-Man figure as the model, and so today we're just going to stand him on the foundation that we built, and he's 6 inches tall. So I want my walls to be probably 8 inches, because that'll give us enough space to, have some headroom and hang things from the ceiling as we decorate it. And of course I'm doing the whole house out of the foam board. So I went ahead and actually cut out the parts that will go all the way around the edge of this platform that we built in the last video. So I've got all those pieces cut out, and I'll just start gluing those around the edge. So this is the front of the house, and just like I showed you, I'd already pre-cut my pieces. So this is going to be the front wall, and pretty much any wall you cut to glue to the base, you're going to need 2 of every piece, because this will be the lower level of the house, and then there will be a floor to make the upstairs, and then you'll need a second piece for the walls at the top for the second level. So instead of just having one side open like a normal dollhouse would, I'm going to cut it diagonally and just have it in 2 completely separate parts, so you can push them together and it'll look like a house, or you can pull them apart and it'll be two halves. Okay, so we have the walls up, and it's finally starting to take shape, and you can see much better at how this is going to look. This is the front of the house. Over here will be where the water wheel is. This is going to be the front door. This is that extra little half we added on, and it's a lot bigger than it looks on that camera. I'm trying to look in the camera, make sure I'm getting all this to fit in there. So I guess the next step is to figure out how we're going to have this open, because like I was saying, with a dollhouse, you have one whole wall that's open. Like, just pretend this wall is in here and this is the side you would, you know, play at and be able to look in. And you know, with this house, there was something about each wall that I liked. Like, this one will have the water wheel, so I didn't want to eliminate this wall. I didn't want to take the front off because that's the most popular view of the house that we all are familiar with, and that's what really makes the house what it is. This wall is going to have a fireplace, so I didn't want to take it out. And then the back, it's got a staircase. And we want to still have that staircase, and it's just like I didn't know how to have this open to where you could see it. So I've got it all together and glued together except for this front wall and this back wall. So I'm going to make a diagonal cut all the way from one corner down to the other. Now see, the little loft room will be this space up here. This is where the loft is. And then you have this space up here in the triangle half with the two windows. And I'm trying to decide if there's going to be another level of floor above this one, or if that's just going to all be open. I think it'd be a lot cooler to have another floor and, you know, add some more decorations, maybe another bed or furniture or something up here. So we can decide that as we get further along in it. But I just want to focus on getting the floors in so we can do the columns and the beams and just trim it all out. So here are the two halves, and that's going to be two completely separate pieces. I don't think I'll put hinges on it, but I might decide to do that later. So now that we've got the walls and the floor, I'm going to figure out where the windows go, and I'm going to stand He-Man inside and just use him again to figure out how tall to make the doorways and how wide to make the doorways. So that's going to be the next step. I'm just going to go from the outside and just eyeball it. I'm just going to have to guess about how far to the side or the center to put the door. I'll just go by the pictures that we see on Google. When I bring up the Sanderson sister house, I know there's a window right on the edge of the front, and then there's the door not far from there. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is just work on figuring out where to draw on the windows and the doors. Okay, so I went ahead and went around and done the windows and the front door of the house. And I'm going again by this one picture that we see on the internet, and even in the movie that's really the only side of the house we see. And then I've also been going by these little blueprints that I found on Google. And of course my measurements aren't the best. I'm sure that, you know, this room over here probably should have stuck out a little bit more. I think it's going to look pretty good for what it is. You know, this is my first dollhouse that I've ever made, so it's been real tricky, and even videoing this has made it harder to do, because like I said, I don't normally video stuff, so I could have had this done in a week if I wasn't videoing it. But I figured, you know, there might be 10 people watch this, so I thought maybe I should just finish it, so if there is people watching, they can see the final product, because there's a lot of people interested in miniatures and dollhouse making and things. So I thought it would just be fun to video it. And I probably will put a hinge at the back here later on. And I'll probably, much later on when we get more of the house built, I'm going to put some real strong magnets up here on this front opening to help keep it closed tight together. So I know the next part, I guess, is to start the top level, and so we're going to have the floor. See, I'm going to have to get it set level to where the two parts line up better, but using the same stuff I've been using, the foam board, we'll put the floor down up here. But if you notice on the house, there's an overhang that hangs out, like this top level, second level, hangs out over the front of the house. So, and also on the inside of the house, it's not a solid floor. It's basically like an L-shaped, you know, like a loft. So it's just going to be from this part over and then back to the back of the house. It's just like an L-shaped loft. So what I'll do is I'll measure this part of the house and just cut a piece of board that will just go from here to here to make the floor. And I've got to remember that it needs to overhang, have an overhang at the front, and that'll give us our second level. And then after we get this loft built, we will start the walls for the other half of the house, the second level. Okay, so here is the front of the house, and here is that loft that will sit up here. So when you're on the inside, it's like a little loft area, which has had a lot of famous scenes, like when Max is up there with the lighter and makes the sprinklers go off, or when Thackeray Binks in the beginning is crawling around up here watching his sister Emily. But anyway, the shape of it is sort of a L shape, because this goes across the front, this shoots off to the back, and this little extra piece that hangs out right here, it's going to be that extra room that we'll be building later on. So we'll just glue this down, and I've left, you know, it doesn't sit back even like this. It has to have that overhang, so when you're cutting it, you have to remember to leave enough space to have an overhang. Okay, so here we've got that little platform attached to the top. Okay, Alright, so we've got the lower level walls up. We got part of the second level walls up, and I'm going to pull it away so that you can see again how it opens. I like it opening this way because if we made it open from the middle, it would the split would have interfered with the doorway and some of the other things that'll be going on inside. Especially when you get up to these windows that will be up here at the top levels. But one thing I did good that I learned is label all your pieces, because some of these pieces I wouldn't even have known what they were if I hadn't labeled them. The measurements are just sort of made up as I go along. Once it's all done, I'll measure it out and make a little blueprint of it. I've kind of ran out of supplies, so I'm going to quit for the day, but here's how the inside looks. This is the front wall, and this is the loft up here. There will be steps back here at this end that'll take you up to the upper floor, and so I'm glad that I labeled it. And then once I get done gluing, I'm going to take the tip of the hot glue gun and just clean up all that glue that's running down the edges. I always like to smooth out the hot glue because I'm so particular about hot glue. It's such a tacky, bulky glue. I always like to go around it afterwards and just smooth it all out. So once I get the rest of the foam board to finish these walls, I'll put the ceiling on, and I'll have to figure out what I'm going to use for floorboards, and I will do the floor. And then after that's done, I'll insert the columns to help support the loft and the trim around the floor and the roof, the ceiling, and we'll get into all those details in the next video.